All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started today. I want to thank everyone for joining us. This is the Qvinci webinar on why point of sale or POS data doesn't give you the full picture. We're going to try to cover a lot of ground today, and appreciate everybody holding questions or using our chat option through the GoToWebinar link to ask questions as they come up. But also keep in mind we do try to open the floor for a Q&A session at the end of these webinars, and we'll actually, if you want to raise your hand through the webinar system, one of my colleagues will unmute you, and we'll take it on a direct basis. So, quick introduction. My name is Roman Delino. I'm an account executive here at Q Vinci Software. They've been with the company since January of 2015, and to a certain degree have seen us grow up a lot. And you know, the beauty behind a small company is the offering that we are delivering is growing every day. So we always like to start off with some upcoming webinars. We've got a how-to webinar on properties and permissions. Our how-to series is really focused on training current clients in detail on specific features or functions of Qvinci. You know, a lot of companies would charge for this type of thing, but we feel like the more power and frankly the more information we can provide to our clients, the more value we can deliver in the long run. So don't hesitate to jump into that on August 11th. And we also have 5 Habits of Proactive Franchisees that's coming up on the 17th. And that focus is really at the unit level as far as how does a franchisee really use Qvinci so that they can benefit their business and hopefully in the long run benefit the whole franchise as a group. So we always enjoy leading off with businesses that trust us, and you know, as you can see by the businesses that are here, we are very diverse in the value that we offer, ranging from clients like Goldfish Swim School, which is a smaller, younger franchise that's just growing like crazy and really doing it right, focusing on the franchisees and the technology that they can provide to their franchisees to deliver value every day, all the way up to you know, the Stanley Steamers and the Dwyer Group or Mr. Electrics of the world that have been franchising for tens, if not 50 years, have very, very well-developed processes, but have seen an opportunity with Qvinci to really benefit the overall profitability of their business from top down and bottom up. So our agenda today is to go over a quick about Qvinci for those of you who are new to Qvinci. Then cover what is financial reporting software. Why do you need it? What opportunities does it create? And then, as always, we love to run through, you know, the old adage, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, a demo is worth 1,000,000. Like to run through a quick overview of Qvinci for those who haven't seen it. It won't go into a ton of detail around the features themselves. But you know, just simply seeing it, it really has a lot of value. And then lastly, we're going to close with what kind of results can you expect, and then a Q&A session. So about Qvinci. Qvinci was founded in 2007. We were actually founded underneath the name QuickDash. Very quickly after the company was founded, we were actually approached by the Intuit franchise program with Intuit QuickBooks, and the ask was, hey, you know, we're really focusing on satisfying the needs of these franchises, and we're running into a problem. And the problem is we don't know how to put multiple unlike entities together in a consolidated, accurate basis. Is this something you can help us solve? If you can help us solve it, we'll make you the exclusive Intuit franchise reporting, Intuit franchise program reporting partner. Well, as you can see by the second bullet point, we have since solved that problem and are very proud of our partnership with Intuit. And while it's not, as far as our integrations, we're not exclusive to Intuit, it really is a vote of confidence for us, and it has helped us as a company grow. We are the #1 reporting app in the Intuit App Store, so if you're ever curious and want to read what we would consider unbiased, unfiltered reviews on our solution, I would strongly recommend going to apps.com and taking a look at the Qvinci feedback. That's you know, I think we've got something like 115, 120 reviews up there now. And lastly, the big piece is patented technology. You know, what is the secret sauce behind Qvinci? And that is our ability to dynamically sync disparate accounting files. So they could be QuickBooks, they can be, and we'll go into more detail on this in a minute, but they can be varying types of software. We can bring that information to a central point, normalize it so that everybody's speaking the same language, and then provide it in the form of dashboards and detailed financial reporting to the decision makers in the company, be it at the franchisor level, be it at the franchisee level, or anywhere in between, including like FCs or FBCs, the proverbial boots on the ground. So what is financial reporting software? The tagline here, in a nutshell, it plugs the gaps in your accounting software. The objective and really the real values that we deliver as a company to our clients is we give you the ability to save money, automate tasks, reduce risk, and improve efficiency. How do we do that? Well, we start by giving you integrations, and the integrations start with an ability to automatically pull data out of cloud-based accounting solutions like Xero, like Intuit QuickBooks Online, the desktop version of Intuit QuickBooks. So, if you've got users that are using QuickBooks Desktop, even in hosted environments, a la Right Networks or some of the other large hosting organizations out there, we have the ability to attach to those files and bring the information in. We even offer Excel Sync and MYOB for instance, if you've got somebody that's on FreshBooks or Sage or Peachtree, the Excel Sync is a very simple process. It's very clean, and it can still deliver value both in the visibility to you as the franchisor or to you as the franchisee, allowing you to see some of the information that Qvinci can provide in the way of benchmarking and ranking. So why do you need it? And this circles back to the headline of the webinar. Why doesn't POS give you the complete picture? And the reality is, point of sale data has really become the standard in a lot of franchise organizations. I deal with clients and prospective clients on a regular basis, and oftentimes when we first start the conversation, I get the response, "Well, we already collect that data." Well, you dig a little bit further, and the reality is the data that's coming in at the franchise level is typically via POS or some sort of CRM, in which it tracks sales. It may track customers. It may give you the ability to interface to a degree between the two of them. But what it does not offer the full financial picture, which is, okay, we can track sales all day, every day. Sales does not always equal success. Obviously, it's a major function of it. But, as in the second bullet point, units with strong POS data do go out of business. And in fact, one of our clients that is, I will say, a very, very large home service organization, they had a franchise convention. They applauded and awarded their top 3 franchises in each concept. And the unfortunate fact is, what drove them to Qvinci was within 6 months of delivering the awards to the top 3 based on income, number 1 and number 3 in one of their concepts went out of business, and they had absolutely no visibility or preparation around it. There were apparently some personal issues that really drove, it made the businesses no longer make sense. And because there was no stopgap there, because there was no communication, because there was no collaboration, while they may have been setting the world on fire in sales, if you aren't paying your bills or if you're not paying the IRS, obviously that can present a big problem. And it, to a certain degree, left a large and well-developed franchisor with egg on their face as it relates to dealing with their franchisees. So poor visibility into system financials can result in uninformed business decision-making. I would cite my previous example in that we just, as a franchise group, potentially awarded somebody that was nigh or about to go out of business. It goes deeper than that. One example of a franchise that I can think of that I've got a close relationship with a couple of their franchisees, and this is a large one, is some of the promotions that are ran at this specific franchise. And while from a competitive perspective, from an advertising perspective, and from a corporate perspective, the promotions make all the sense in the world. The reality is if there was more visibility in the impact that it was having on their franchisees, as far as, in some cases, putting franchisees out of business because, frankly, the advertising or the ad that was being offered or the special that was being offered was causing them to not only lose money, but it wasn't driving the sales to their business that they needed to stay afloat. But on top of that, there are times when general best practices at the corporate level, and I've seen examples of this, or what's understood as the norm or the ideal, may not actually be backed up by the data. The information could be 5 years out of date in an environment that's gone from 25 locations to 300. And so big value behind Qvinci is, since we give you the full P&L, since we give you the full balance sheet and the ability to benchmark those items, you can really see what the financial best practices are, and your franchisees can see them as well within your environment on a regularly updated basis, in some cases even daily. And so, changes that are seen within the business can really, be communicated very quickly, be realized, and also be acted upon. Keep your data accurate. Data accuracy was one of the biggest issues that Intuit QuickBooks ran into whenever they were trying to build a consolidation solution. And the reason was because differences in naming convention from one franchisee to another, or one franchisee to the franchisor. In a perfect world, and I've been going through the CFE process with franchise.org, and as general best practice, it's accepted within the franchise world that when you're setting up, or eventually you're going to say, we have a standardized chart of accounts. That way we can have everybody on the brand standard and have some level of management around it. Well, the reality is there's always going to be some deviation from that standardized chart of accounts, and it can really cause problems when it comes to generating an understanding, because everybody's using a different language when it comes to their actual accounting and their general reporting. Well, what makes our system special, and the patented piece behind it, is we give you dynamic mapping to a standard chart of accounts. And that allows someone to say, okay, here's our standard. And regardless of whether or not franchisee A or franchisee B calls this particular account something different, you call it lease, he calls it rent, I call it a fixed expense mortgage, I can make that a normalized language so that everybody reports in the same format. And we do it accurately, and it's been very heavily vetted by our varying partners, the Intuit franchise program included in that group. So it automates consolidation so that you can simply see where your business is, whether you're a multi-unit owner of 30 individual franchise units, or 5, or in some cases 600, or you're a franchisor that's got 25 locations up to 4,500. The automated consolidation is huge value. It can really make your life easier, and in the long run, help you grow and save you money. Benchmarking. Without standardized language, you can't have benchmarking because your benchmarks will be all over the place. Once again, I cited the lease versus rent versus fixed expense mortgage. You can't benchmark those items unless you have a means to standardize that language, and that's really what we do. And then lastly, it helps prevent fraud. While that's a negative, I would spin it in that franchises are built on equity. Equity in that I'm going to treat you fairly as a franchisee, and as such, you are going to treat me fairly as a franchisor, and I'm not going to give you special treatment that I don't give someone else. And being able to really, in a firm and confident way, commit that to your franchisees when you new franchisees. And it'll also build that trust that allows you to communicate and collaborate with your organization so that you can ensure that everybody's on the same page, that you're heading in the right direction, and that everybody's benefiting from that direction. So, what opportunities do these issues create? Well, I mean, there's an extensive array of business intelligence tools and features in Qvinci that help eliminate guesswork. We're going to cover some of those when we get into the demo. But once again, simply being able to say, you know what, give me the P&L for the Northwest region. Show me a dashboard that tells me how financially the Southeast region that with 25 employees that's greater than 5 years old has performed for a given period. The ability to be confident because your data collection is automatic. And so you're not having to call and ask somebody, hey, will you click this button? or hey, can you email me your P&L so that I can do some manual work on my end through Excel to try to put something together. Qvinci takes care of that. We bring the data in on a regular basis. We consolidate it accurately through dynamic mapping to a standardized chart of accounts, and we give you a web access through our cloud-based system so that you can access it wherever you need to. So once again, improve system-wide communication and collaboration. The objective is to be equitable, but also to deliver information to the people who need it the most in a timely fashion, so that instead of doing your item 19 reporting at the end of the year or quarterly or whatever process you have in place now, and then turning around and providing benchmarking to your franchisees, or being a franchisee and having to wait to receive that information, you can look at last month. In some cases, depending on what level of integration, you can look at last week and see what the group as a whole has done and how you can utilize that information from an analysis perspective to run your business better, be it a franchise or be it at the franchisee level or at the franchisor level. So eliminate conflict within the franchise is the way I would describe this. That's part of communication and collaboration. You no longer have that, well, I don't really want to share my information because the fact is oftentimes you're contractually obligated as a franchisee to do so, but it's a bit of a pain to do it. You have to go through, you have to clean everything up, you have to, oftentimes do some sort of normalization to the language, and then you have to send it in, whether it's filling out a template or whatnot. Well, the beauty behind what we do is as part of one of the objectives of utilizing Qvinci, more often than not, we will see franchisees get on a more regular bookkeeping process because they begin to see the value in Qvinci and say, you know what, the more often I do this, the more useful it is to me. And then, there will eventually become a critical mass where all franchisees as a group move to that process, and it offers enormous benefit and agility to a franchise leadership group, because it really gives you a good picture of what the real experience is from the newest franchises to the most experienced are seeing, so that you can make the right decisions to benefit everybody, and then of course saves everybody time and money. So we're going to jump over into a quick demonstration, and I'll also remind everybody, we are recording this, and so if you've missed any points, we will be posting the recording to our webinar's webpage. You can always back up and view it as well. So here is the Qvinci dashboard. I'd made mention of the ability to bring data in on a regular basis and normalize it. This is really the first step to what Qvinci provides. And so if I am a CFO at the franchisor level, conceivably, when I log into Qvinci, what I will see is a dashboard that represents the financial performance, oftentimes as of the previous day, of my entire organization. So in this case, in my demo account, we're actually looking at the consolidation of 29 different files. And so it makes it a very clean process. It's very easy for someone to jump in on a tablet and say, okay, let's review the business real quick because I'm on the road. They log in once, and you have a dashboard that you can customize to a degree. So if financial summary for last month is important for your general oversight, you can set it up. And if you have the permission to see the entire organization, or whatever permission set you own, you will be able to see at a very high and tight roll-up of the business. You have various degrees of P&L as well as an AR and AP aging report. The client that I was mentioning earlier that had a problem with one of their franchisees not paying their bills, that ended up becoming a bigger problem for them when they had to do a distressed resale on a, frankly, a very well-performing franchise. Something like this could really be a lot of benefit, whether it's at the corporate level or even at the franchise business consultant or franchise consultant level. Because when you're looking at the dashboard, you only have permission to see who the administrator of the Qvinci account has given you permission to see. And so, in our environment right now, we've got 29 locations. I'm an administrator to this account, so I can see every single location in detail. If I were, say, a franchise consultant, then conceivably I may have 5 locations that I had the ability to see. And so when I log in, I see my 5 locations. And so once again, I can track my business as I see fit. And some other things that you can do from this screen is it's very easy for you to drill into an individual location. So for instance, if I'm concerned with a specific location, in this case the Austin, Texas location, I can very easily bounce into that location and see the dashboard representation of their business. Of course, if I saw this, I would be pretty concerned because we're both not getting paid for our services, and we're not really paying for them in a very timely fashion either. There's a lot of costs associated with things like this. And so once again, a lot of flexibility as to what you can see. You can always combine groups of stores. If you're a multi-unit franchise owner, you may have the same problems a franchisor has, and that I own, 20 of a specific franchise unit. Each one of them has their own accounting file, and I have no idea where my business is as a whole. Well, the beauty behind Qvinci is, since we offer unlimited free licensing as it relates to users, you can give that person, that franchisee, viewers access to Qvinci so that they get value out of it as much as you do. You can give their stakeholders access to it at no additional cost. Because once again, a key tenet to what we do is our objective is to deliver value to and information to all the people within an environment that need it. Now, what else can we do from here? This is, we affectionately call the dashboard our coffee and newspaper screen. Well, if we're doing real financial analysis, for instance, we identify an issue within one of our KPIs. We notice that our costs are going up, but our income is not. Okay, well, more often than not, we're going to need more detail than what's in a dashboard. And that's where we go to the meat and potatoes section of Qvinci, and it is consolidated franchise reporting. You have the ability to say, okay, give me a by location with on our standardized chart of accounts. So we've normalized the language for, and you know what, let's just do a smaller segment for viewing purposes. Just grab one. We'll do the North region. Okay. Another key thing, these filters are completely customizable. And so however you think of your business, whether it's number of bays, number of trucks, number of employees, income, general population, or population within a certain segment, you can add those filters so that you can very easily segment your businesses and generate reporting groups that make sense. Okay, I need to run a P&L side by side for this year to date for the North region with percentages of revenue on, and it's this quick. And instead of having language that's all over the place, because this guy calls this engine sale, Little Rock calls it engine sales, New Orleans calls it engine income, which ends up being 3 rows long instead of 1, we normalize the language so that everybody's singing off the same sheet of music. And you can really do comparative analysis and say, okay, Austin, Texas, how's Austin comparing to Little Rock right now? If we look at it on terms of percentages of income, and keep in mind this is a demo account, you know what, they're pretty comparable based on their volume. So you can drill not only from the sales items, and this is the big difference between us and pretty much any point of sale system on the market, drill from those sales items through COGS all the way down to the lower quarter of the P&L, which more often than not from your franchisee's perspective is going to be the most important part. Because the reality is this is where, frankly, the decisions are made that can make or lose money regardless of what your sales are. And so offering this level of detail to your franchisees and having it as a franchisor obviously has a ton of value. Any report that you generate within Qvinci, you can memorize. Memorize means that I'm going to run this report with a high level of frequency. I need to run it once a month. You can simply create the report once, save it, and it'll be saved on the right side of your reporting page, and you just simply click into it to rerun the report. We've also added, as part of our custom report builder, the ability to customize reports. And so as a for instance, if I wanted to customize this report, I can move into an interface that's very similar to Excel. And I can do things like add a column. I can go in and add formulas to that column in order to generate something that matters to me. I can remove rows. I can remove columns. The idea here with the custom report builder is to take that P&L or that benchmark and allow you to carve down to what truly matters to you. If it's income per square foot, great. You can, on a single occasion, create an income per square foot for last month report for a group of locations or for the business as a whole. And you can see that number, and since you've memorized it as a last month report, next month, last month becomes a different month, and since we're syncing the data all the time, you can be confident that the information that you're looking at is reflective of last month. So you build it once, and you have a report moving forward that you're always going to be able to make use out of. And I'm not going to go into any more detail here, but we have a full webinar on how to use the custom report builder that's very detailed. So what else do we do? Obviously, we offer you profit and loss. We offer you the ability to do a consolidated profit and loss by region or by your company as a whole or by location. We offer you the ability to do all of those same things with a balance sheet, a statement of cash flow, or even a weekly P&L. But what are the big values that we deliver from an analysis perspective? Benchmarking has always been a challenge in the franchise world, and that's why there's a lot of companies out there that offer a yearly benchmark, and typically it involves 20 or 30 key metrics, very, very high-level data based on industry. Some people find it very useful. Others find that it tends to lack in detail for their particular environment. Well, once again, since Qvinci has the ability to normalize the language, we can provide much more detail than most benchmarks that anyone has seen in the majority of franchise organizations. And since we do it based on the P&L instead of a survey that somebody fills out, you can come in here and actively say, okay, I'm going to benchmark my North region for the last 3 months with vertical analysis on, because as a general rule, I like to look at most things in terms of percentages of income. I feel like it's a great way to level set. And we'll benchmark the whole environment. And the report that we can generate gives you something that looks like this. It tells you we've got 27 people that comprise our entire environment. The top 10% is 3 locations. And based off top-line revenue, here's the average on an account-by-account basis of the top 10%. You have the ability to run that side-by-side with any of your locations. If you're a franchisee, and say I'm a franchisee and these are the locations that I own because I'm a multi-unit owner, I will see my locations only. But I can go in and actively run this report so that I can, I get visibility into the expense layer. I get visibility into things, once again, deeper like other expenses, which oftentimes don't wind up getting posted in, or it really are impossible to post to a POS. But here I can see that and it, really deliver a ton of value as it relates to general understanding of what I should be doing based on what the metrics within my organization show me. Now, going back to the benchmarking page, if you want to carve down to a smaller segment, I'd mentioned our filter groups earlier. Those filter groups will show up here too. And so if you have corporate locations and franchise locations, oftentimes it makes sense to segment those because your franchisees maybe shouldn't benchmark against your corporate or vice versa. And so it makes it very easy for you to carve up a group that says I'm greater than 108 months old and I'm in the United States and something, some other metric, so that you can carve down to a peer group that truly makes sense for your business. So the last report I'm going to cover today is ranking. The ability to rank the performance of your franchises is something that a lot of point-of-sale systems offer, but once again, they don't offer the level of detail that we can because we offer, all the way down to the bottom line, to use the term of the P&L or the balance sheet. And so, being able to very quickly say, okay, who's my #1 store in terms of total income, that's something you can usually do through a POS. What you can't usually do through a POS is say, what was that store's net income margin and how does it compare? What was their expense margin? How does that compare? And once again, as far as an early warning system, paying attention to reports like this, if you ever see somebody that's #1 in total income, but their net income, they're towards, out of 29 locations, they're number 28, you might have a problem. And it might be something that from a franchisor's perspective, you might want to pay attention to. Conversely, if you're that franchisee that is really setting the world on fire in sales, and you see this report and you wonder why you're not making any money, it may prompt you to delve a little bit deeper into the benchmark report and find out where you're falling down compared to the comps. So the last couple of pieces that I want to cover are some of the tools that we offer. We have alerts. Alerts is really what I consider the safety net, and also the framework that each individual can use to notify themselves. It basically set up an early warning system to a degree, or a performance notification system. And every single user within a Qvinci environment can come in here, and whichever locations that they have access to, once again, this is permission controlled. And so if I'm the Austin, Texas franchisee, and I've determined that rebuilt engine sales is really critical in my business, I've been falling down on it. And through my benchmarking report, figured out that, hey, I really, to be successful, I need to set a target for myself of $15,000 in rebuilt engine sales income, because it's a high margin, low labor item. That will really drive success at the business level. I can set this up to where it emails me on a weekly basis how I'm trending month to date against the target of $15,000. Never even have to log into Qvinci. I simply set up the warning system or the alert system, and I receive notifications that allow me to continue selling rebuilt engines, right? And past that, you can build a group of these. They can be however many you choose. They can be expense items, income items. If they're expense items, most of the time it's going to be a threshold. And so, if I come down here into my expense items and I wanted to set a daily alert of a threshold on a specific, let's pretend we're looking at a payroll, I can insert that, and I can see a relationship in my email every day of how my sales are related to my payroll, so I can ensure that I'm not overspending or underspending on my business. Where do we get the information from here? You can get it from the benchmark report. It really can be a great way to set up and understand what you need to do to be successful. Well, what if you don't understand how to read a benchmark report, or frankly, you just don't have time, or you don't want to sit there and do the analysis? We've taken it a step further and added pro forma. Pro forma takes that benchmark report, digests it based on the size of your business, the historicals of your business, and then applies it to your business, and will show you on a location basis what the operational ideal is for your business based on what we see in the data from your organization. And so once again, if we're falling down on engine sales, well, based on the metrics in my business and the size of my business and what I've done over the last 2 years trended out to this year, my forecast objective is $12,000 in engine sales for this month. Obviously, I missed that by a pretty substantial margin. That shows in my net income. And so if you're performing to these objectives, which these can be updated as often as daily, if you're performing to these objectives, they'll be green. If you're not performing to the objectives, they'll be red. And so it makes it very easy for both yourself or or someone else, whether it's the other the other corporate employees, or whether it's franchisees or support staff, to be able to see this information, see who's running at the ideal, and maybe step in and help coach those who are not, to really benefit the business in the long run. So we're going to bounce back over to the presentation now. So, what results can you expect from Qvinci? The proverbial what's in it for me. 24/7 access to your financials. That is one of the biggest challenges to overcome in any disparate accounting environment, is simply getting the data. Well, with our integrations, we solve for something like 92% of the small medium business market of the United States. And according to the various franchise data warehouses out there, something like 94% of all franchisees. Deeper insights into your business performance. And we say deeper because obviously there are high-level POS reporting and even detailed POS reporting that can offer you, income insights. Our objective is to give you the full picture, or the other, 40 to even sometimes 60% of your P&L, so that you can really see what's driving performance and utilize the lessons that are being demonstrated through the data, to go out and those who are not performing to offer them the assistance that they need. Problems become highlighted before they become real trouble. You know, that's part of the alert system. It's part of benchmarking. It's part of ranking. The ability to see how that information moves in and out of your business and see those that may be trending the wrong direction. It has just innumerable value, both at the franchisor and franchisee level. Financial target tracking. You know, we can set sales objectives, but with a lot of reporting systems on the market, what you can't do is set sales versus expense, sales versus COGS, food costs, labor costs, whatever it is that you have built into your sales as a COG. It can be very difficult to track through other systems, and we make it very easy for you to do so. Actionable data to help your business grow. I don't know that I've ever met a franchise client that said that, you know, I don't want to grow my business anymore. Even the largest in the world, the objective is to grow the business, oftentimes responsibly, and as the market will bear. But you know, growth is inevitably the objective, whether you are a franchisee, whether you are a franchisor. And a key element to that growth that, you know, up until some of the technology evolution that has occurred over the last 5 or 6 years, a key roadblock in the franchise world was simply having the data, and simply having the data with enough detail for you to make use of it. And that's really where Qvinci comes in. So we talk about financial data, and it comes up consistently. Well, you're talking about financial data. I, as a franchisor, am concerned because I'm extremely careful with my franchisees' data. And you know, and the flip side to that is, I, as a franchisee, want to be very careful with my own data because I have a right to privacy. And you know, so as such, some key things to call out about the great lengths that Qvinci goes with data security. We are actually hosted at Amazon Web Services. A lot of times you'll hear it abbreviated AWS. We carry statements of compliance 1, 2, and 3 through our relationship with AWS, which involves multiple third-party audits for both security and responsibility and due diligence. In addition to that, our solution is HIPAA compliant, FIPS, OPAL, and Department of Defense. And in fact, AWS actually hosts the Department of Defense as well as QuickBooks Online. As far as internal controls, only senior level Qvinci employees can access our database. We do not sync personal data. So it's a consistent concern that comes up, you know, well, I value my clients. I don't want my clients' information going back and forth, or, you know, I don't want you to have my bank account numbers. Well, by design, and this is actually written into our end user license agreement in very clear terms, we sync summary financial data. So that means we are syncing totals out of accounts. We never pull Social Security numbers. We never pull bank account numbers. We never pull credit card numbers. Anything that would be deemed fraud sensitive in nature, frankly, we don't want. Because it has no value from a reporting relationship perspective, and our system isn't coded to take it. And lastly, we regularly perform security audits through both our development group and our support team to ensure that all of our own controls are being maintained and and are successful, so that everyone that we work with is comfortable working with us and knows that we are being as careful with their information as we would be with our own. So what are our next steps here? You know, an ask out of these webinars is always, you know, if you're a current client and you have a question, please reach out to your account executive. If you're somebody that's taking a look at Qvinci, we did some real high-level stuff today, and I would strongly encourage you to reach out to the person on this list that you would think applies to your business. Myself, I'm Roman Delino. Obviously, I cover home services, medical and dental, food and restaurant, and a few options that are external to the franchise business. Caitlin Underwood, health, beauty, and fitness, senior and home care, property management, real estate. Rich Madison, children and education, cleaning and restoration, entertainment. Marty De Los Santos, automotive, business services, retail, and nonprofits. We've broken our team up in industries at this point because you know, every business is different, every industry is different, and we understand that. We've all gone to great lengths, whether it's through training systems or simply just through experience and communicating with customers in these industries to understand our industries and understand the needs within those industries, and should be able to speak very specifically to any item that comes up as a question for an industry that we're responsible for. So, my call to action and request, and obviously we're going to do a Q&A session, is this. If you'd like more information, if you'd like a personal demonstration, or simply have some questions that you're not comfortable going over in a webinar setting, please reach out to whomever it would be that would be responsible for taking care of you. Now, I do want to open up the floor for questions. And so if you have a question, please raise your hand, and I'll be glad to address it. Or if you don't have a means to communicate with a mic, don't hesitate to type them into chat, and I can take those questions as well. We actually had a chat question earlier that I think would be important to cover, and I did make mention of it in the presentation. Do we charge by user? No, we do not. So Qvinci is licensed at the location level. Location is defined as a syncing entity. So that could mean at the accounting file level, meaning I'm a franchisee with one location, so I have one license of Qvinci. Even if I've got 20 people who are accessing it, it's still one license. It could also mean I am a multi-unit owner that has 15 individual units. Each one is a class within a, let's say a QuickBooks file. Then you've got two options. You can sync that file and get just an idea of what that owner's business looks like, or you can sync the classes, and that becomes, instead of one file, you've got 15 classes. It is 15 licenses, but the beauty behind it is you really get a great picture at the unit economics level of how every one of your locations are performing, and you tend to help level set economies of scale. Do we have any other questions? All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. If there are any questions, please do not hesitate to use our chat field. And in addition to that, please don't hesitate to give us a shout if you have any questions. We've got somebody who's familiar with your industry and with franchising that's ready to help. Everybody have a great day, and thank you for joining me.